Not doing too good. I bought my wrong flute today, and I'm off my game, so I apologise. Blown too hard.
Thank you, Jan, and thank you, Chris. That was beautiful. And if you didn't know what those little doot-doot-doot-doots, I think they were meant to be cuckoos. Yeah. Good morning and welcome to Westside Unitarian Universalist Church. Whether you're here for the first time or whether you've been here for decades, we welcome all of you, regardless of your past religious. We welcome all of you, regardless of your religious beliefs or your gender, your everything. We welcome diversity here, and we want to learn from each other. Let's join in a spirit of curiosity to learn about diverse values, beliefs, and spiritual paths represented among you. All are welcome. This morning, we will be presenting a lay-led service, the second in a series on Appalachian culture. I have to learn Appalachian. Several weeks ago, Reverend Badeau gave an excellent history of Appalachia, and if you missed it, you can find it on our YouTube channel. Today, we'll be focusing on the music of the mountains, and we welcome you to stay after the service for coffee and conversation. And Chris is going to help with us, telling us the announcements and...
Hey, I'm Chris Edkins. I'm a member of the Worship Committee, and I'm going to just let you know about some of the announcements in our order of service. Next week is our Pancakes and Patriotism service. If you have not been to that service before, we have like a pancake breakfast. In the past, we've done it as part of the service, but since we moved the first Sunday potluck to the first Sunday of the month, from the third Sunday where it used to be, we're having our pancake breakfast like as the potluck after the service now. So if you want to bring some breakfast themed items for the potluck next week, whatever you fancy for that, we will provide some pancakes and some bacon. as we always do, and but you can bring whatever you want for that. The other thing that we ask you to do for that is, if you have a patriotic reading or poem that you want to bring to share during the potluck, you can do that. And if you're going to join us on YouTube, if you could send a reading or a poem to Brad ahead of time, we will read it for you during the service, or you can send it to us, in the chat, a link or whatever in the chat during this, and we'll read it out during the service. So that's that announcement. Brad tells me that a bunch of people have been unsubscribed from the newsletter by MailChimp. Something beyond our control that we did not intend to happen, that happened anyway. So if you're not getting the newsletter, if you noticed you're not getting the newsletter, if we would ask you to resubscribe. So at the back of your order of service, right at the bottom here, there's the link, westsideuuc.org/subscribe. If you go there, you can resubscribe to the newsletter. You should start getting it again. And if you're out there in YouTube land and you've stopped getting the newsletter, westsideuuc.org/subscribe should get you resubscribed to the newsletter. And I don't suppose it would do any harm if you re-upped and resubscribed, even if you hadn't been dropped. So Brad himself got dropped, so it's we're not picking on anybody in particular. So I don't know, are there any other announcements that we need to draw attention to before we carry on with the rest of the service?
The meditation.
Oh yes, Calm Abiding Meditation is a one-day urban retreat at Westside. It will be on Saturday, July 12th, 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And the cost for that is $50, but scholarships are available by request. If you don't have that $50, please come anyway, and you can claim one of the scholarships. This is going to be a meditation in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So whether you're a newcomer to meditation or an old hand, you're welcome to come and join for that meditation day on July 12th. So I will hand it back to Jette. Thank you.
We will now, Chris will now sound the bowl, because he is much better at it than I am. We will now light the chalice. Charles Darwin wrote, "If I had my life to live over again, I would have made it a rule to read some poetry and listen to music at least once a week." We usually also light candles of joy and concern. Come on in, there's lots of room. Concern today, for me, is the heat wave and those having to work outside. It's been extremely hot lately, and hopefully we'll get some relief. And to find a candle of joy amongst all the news, it was very difficult. I actually had to find a newsletter that is specifically focused on good news. So we light a candle of joy for 50 nations that have ratified a global treaty to protect 30% of high seas by 2030 from bottom trawling. That's just shy of the 60 needed to make it law. So now we're going to talk to you about mountain music here in East Tennessee and the surrounding areas. Music is like a river gathering tributaries of inspiration and mixing them in a beautiful setting. In our case, in Appalachia, the tributaries came from Europe, the traditional hymns there, also from fiddle music played by Celtic musicians from Scotland and Ireland, and also from Native Americans, like the beautiful flute that Chris played, and as well as their vocal music. Into this mix, the West Africans stirred in syncopation and interesting rhythms played on banjo and drums. So Chris is going to tell you a little bit about Native American and European influences.
We inherited melodies from vocal and flute music of Native Americans who lived in the valleys and hunted in the mountains. Many old-time titles refer to Native Americans. The Cherokee Shuffle is one of my favorites, but also Indian War Whoop, Indian Corn, and Lost Indian. The songs of the eastern woodland Indians typically cascade downwards like creeks and rivers. Ethnomusicologist Alan Jabbar suggests that hundreds of fiddle tunes from the upper South, Virginia, and East Tennessee areas share this unique downward cascade that doesn't occur in other places. Fiddler David Bass also suggested that some modal fiddle tunes were influenced by Native American flute music. The Celtic tradition. Scottish and Irish immigrants had a huge influence on old-time music. They may have been drawn to the area by the mountains that reminded them of their native homelands. Many had hard lives, and homesickness for the Scottish Highlands was a common theme in Appalachian music. One song, You Piney...
Well done, choir. That was awesome. And Jan, thank you for your leadership. So there's one tributary that we haven't talked about yet, and that is the African American influence on our music. After they were exposed to Christianity, a new theology emerged. The promised land for African Americans who were enslaved here in the U.S. was the North, or places that did not permit slavery. So they gave new words to Christian hymns and produced spirituals that included references to escape and freedom, all in coded language. There were antebellum chanted prayers that incorporated African religious traditions such as call and response, circular dances, and ecstatic trances. Some of the titles of songs that have African American origins are "Oh Mary, Don't You Weep, Don't You Moan." Some of you probably know that. "Go Into a Free State," "Sister Mary Wore 3 Links of Chain," and "Run, Slave, Run," except it wasn't slave. And that was written about a black man who was married, ran away, and lost his wedding shoe while being chased by a slave patrol. Both black and Christian influences are evident in the old-time song "Going Down the River." "Well, the whole world is going to hell in a handbasket. If I don't get some resurrection soon, I'm going to end up in a casket. I'm going down the river to wash my soul again. I've been running with the devil, and I know he's not my friend. I've been falling by this wayside, living in this world of sin," and it goes on. Here in Appalachia, the rugged landscape is also an important cultural setting, and I'm sure there were many songs inspired by the beauty of the mountains, the green forests, the running waters, the singing birds, and the choruses of frogs. However, the titles of the old-time tunes, like "Benny Ate a Woodchuck," "Nail That Catfish to a Tree," "Carve That Possum," "Forked Deer," "Duck's Eyeball," and "Shoot That Buffalo," suggests that the settlers and other people living here were more preoccupied with eating biodiversity than appreciating it in other ways. It also showed how mountain folks spiced their hardscrabble lives with humor. So you can have these influences, but you don't necessarily get a blending and produce new kinds of music unless there's another component, a nexus, where they are able to mix. So for example, one mystery is why the strongest tradition of black banjo playing was here in the Upper South, even though there were black musicians in Knoxville and in the Cumberland Gap just before the 1800s. But the black population here was relatively small, and slavery was there were not that many slaves here in this area. So how did this music reach the mountains? And one theory is that the black banjo players in the Piedmont area, which is to the east of us, taught whites, and then those white people moved into the area. And there were also some African Americans that moved into the mountains. In addition to this, Knoxville was a confluence of 2 major rivers, and there are also other transportation networks later, like the railroads that came through carrying musicians. So the way I kind of envision cultural evolution is that there are various sources, and then there also have to be mixing events that bring them together to blend and produce new music. And besides these transportation networks, cultural exchange might have come from social dances, because that was like a predominant form of entertainment, soldiers singing in their camps during wars, work songs sung by various groups, and religious revivals and singing. So for dancing, Appalachian music had a strong Celtic influence of Scotch-Irish immigrants who brought their amazing music and talents. The fiddle became the dominant instrument and a source of entertainment, and eventually the African banjo tradition merged with the Celtic tradition as they figured out how to play together, which, as Linda and I know, is not necessarily easy because of differences in tuning. And during war, these wars were also an opportunity for learning about different cultures. So soldiers brought their fiddles, banjos, and guitars from home. There was a tune called Liberty that was Irish with lyrics from founding father John Dickinson. And the chorus is, "In freedom we're born and in freedom we'll live. Our purses are ready. Steady, friends, steady. Not as slaves, but as freemen, our money we'll give." During the Anglo-Cherokee Wars, which we don't really hear very much about, militia soldiers sang Irish drinking songs. And on the other side, dragging canoe. Who knows about dragging canoe? There's one person, Anne. You get a star, and you also, Jerry. Yeah, I didn't really know that much about dragging canoe, but he's a really interesting part of our history or culture here in Appalachia. He was a great Cherokee resistance leader, and he was joined by runaway slaves, members of other tribes, and European immigrants as he retreated to areas that were unreachable by boat to escape the militias. I don't know what they sang together, but probably the blues, because they weren't very successful in meeting their goals. There is one song you were probably familiar with. The 8th of January celebrated Jackson's victory at the Battle of Orleans in 1815, and you probably heard it. In 1814, we took a little trip along with Colonel Jesson down the mighty Mississippi. We took a little bacon and we took a little beans, and we caught the bloody British in the town of Orleans. We fired our guns and the British kept it coming. They weren't as many as there was a while ago. We fired once more and they began to run on down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico. Good job. A generation later, during the Civil War, the Celtic fiddle tune Soldier's Joy referred to the combination of whiskey, beer, and morphine used to numb pain and help soldiers cope with the horrors of war. Another place where music mixed was at work camps that brought men predominantly together to make music. And they were from different places. So more than a quarter of coal miners in West Virginia were African American, for example. Some of the songs included Coal Miners Blues, There's No Black Lung in Heaven, and You'll Never Leave Harlan Alive. And they also, in addition to mining, lumber camps and building railroads were places where people came together. Finally, there were revivals. European settlers, during the American Revolution, they rejected their allegiance to British kings and queens. And because so many immigrants were escaping from religious persecution, they also rejected popes and state religions. Salvation was offered not only to men, but also to women, enslaved Africans, freed Africans, and Native Americans. Circuit riders, including the Universalist minister Quillen Shin, who you've heard about in previous services, traveled the frontier on horseback to revivals that were held here in East Tennessee. The camp meetings were opportunities for cultural sharing, and at meetings, enthusiastic shape note singing and vigorous movements replaced the restrained worship led by priests. Revival songs like Methodist Preacher and Camp Meeting on the 4th of July emerged with elements from different sources. So we're going to perform for you one song, Wayfaring Stranger, that you may be familiar with. It's an example of how European and African sources combined and popularized during the revival movement. And it has some similarity to an old Scottish song, the Dowie Dens of Yarrow. Am I saying that right? I don't know. Into a German hymn. But it clearly has coded language from the African American tradition. And the choir will now sing a version for which a Jan Coe, our own Jan Coe, arranged the lower parts. So please come on up, choir. I don't have any music. Oh, there we go. I've got it.
Danger in that bright world.
Okay. That was great. Thank you, choir. So we have a giving and generosity partner this quarter, Knox Pride. I think it will be up on the screen in just a minute so you can get more information. There are many ways to contribute to the upkeep of this community and also to share with their partners. There are QR codes in the back of the room there by those boxes, or you can provide cash if you prefer. And there's also information up here. Next quarter, we're hoping that our generosity partner will be Keep the River Beautiful, which is an organization that tries to protect our waterways here in East Tennessee, as well as the biodiversity of mussels and other aquatic biota. So for our closing, we're going to sing. Surprise. So circle up. We're going to be singing the circle, Will the Circle Be Unbroken? And the words will be up on the wall here. So if you can, please sing along. Yeah, circle around the room. That would be awesome.
But make sure you can see the words up on the wall. Circle up as best you can.
We've changed the words a little bit from the traditional, so be prepared to see some differences. And please join us for coffee and conversation.